Welcome to another episode of Your Money, Your Mission, the podcast designed to turn complex financial situations into actionable advice, powered by Johnson Financial Group. In this episode, we explore the connection between financial health and physical and mental well-being. Joining us today is LPL Financial Advisor Pam Stubler. Also with us today is Bri Stubler, a certified health and wellness coach. They also happen to be mother and daughter. We're so excited to have you both with us today to talk about the importance of the holistic approach to wealth and wellness. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start by getting to know you a little bit better. Pam, I've had the privilege of working with you for some time. Could you share with our subscribers a little bit about your background and expertise in the financial services industry?
Of course. So long ago and far away, not too far, in Milwaukee, I had a passion for helping people. I like numbers. I wanted to be a teacher or a nurse. And so I kind of combined the whole thing into this banking career that catapulted into more fine-tuning as it relates to financial advisory. So over 30 years of experience in the investment advisory world. Also have insurance licenses. I'm an accredited investment fiduciary and a certified wealth strategist working for, Johnson Financial.
And we are so glad to have you. Did you find that you were able to help people in a way that is often associated with a teacher or a nurse more than you really expected in this industry?
Absolutely. When I first started really delving into what a financial advisor is, there's a lot of tests you have to take and rules and regulations. It's all numbers and compliance driven. And so I actually second guessed myself. Am I in the right career? But then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to get to know people. I want to get to know my clients, the people who need my help on just a more personal level. And I think that helped me to realize that element of getting to know people. You're going to be able to give them better advice. So that's the approach that I take, and it works really well.
Wonderful. So, Bri, I follow you on Facebook, so I've gotten to see a lot of the things that you do, but I'm really curious about your experience as a health coach and how you help individuals achieve their wellness goals.
Yes, absolutely. So, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, personal trainer, and positive psychology practitioner. So, really loops together, as you mentioned, the physical and mental well-being. I've been coaching for almost 5 years now, started my own business, Balanced by Bri, and work with individuals, groups, and as you both know, businesses as well, doing the 3 wellness presentations for JFG and other businesses as well. It doesn't matter what the specific goal of the person is, right? For some people, it's stress management. For other people, it's weight management. It might be hormones or happiness, everything in between. The process is the same. It's really teaching people to be accountable to themselves and to learn the transitive skills to apply to create a more holistic lifestyle that makes sense for them. So I think similar to, your approach with clients, it's really individual depending on the person. And it's providing people the information, but also helping them be more confident in themselves and their decision-making skills.
So we talk a lot about the links between financial wellness, mental and physical health of an individual. So, and you can answer this, whoever wants to go first, but why do we think that there is this link, this connection between financial well-being and then physical and mental health well-being? Pam, you probably run across it.
Absolutely. I can tell within probably 5 minutes having a conversation with a client what their mental state of being is that day, and because that can change from day to day. So I'll ask a lot of questions when we sit down and talk about goals and what's important to them. And, I try to help them understand to prioritize, right? But you have to be in the right mental space to be able to define what that is, to be able to prioritize, because depending on the mood of that day or what happened to you 10 minutes before that meeting, maybe they had an issue with somebody on the road, maybe they didn't have a good breakfast, maybe their kids were acting up. There could be a whole host of reasons why they aren't really able to identify what's important to them and what goals will help them get to the next level of financial independence. So absolutely, their mental state it's critical for me as an advisor to give them advice because then if I understand that, I'll be able to give them the advice that's going to help them get from A to B. And we do break it down into little steps. I think Bri has helped me understand the process by slowing down and not trying to do too many things at one time. You will be much more successful at decision making and understanding what's important to you, and then involving the people in your lives, because that could be your spouse, it could be any family members, it could be people that you work with. These people all play a bit of a role in your decision making process. So yeah, the mental state, it can ebb and it can flow, but as an advisor, I try to understand what's important to them, help them to prioritize it, and then tackle the goals slowly and gradually.
So it sounds like whether it's, momentary stress or the stress from not being in a place financially where they feel comfortable, you're trying to mitigate that stress, and by taking it in bite-sized pieces, make it appear a little bit more manageable.
Yes, and also to your point of having them understand what's important to them, sometimes there's a reason why they're coming to see me, because they can't do that themselves, right?
Right.
There's a reason why people need professionals. It's usually because they can't get to the result line by themselves, and that's great just to recognize that first and foremost. So if I'm going to help them and if I'm going to provide value, I need to fully understand them. And then they will be able to share with me what's important. So they'll be more comfortable and we'll be able to make some progress toward their goals.
And if they attain some of that financial security, ideally that impacts that stress level, impacts that health, and then they're able to do some of the other things. Would you agree with that, Bri?
It truly is bidirectional, right? And I take a holistic approach, meaning that it's not, you don't operate in a vacuum. So your mental health can affect physical health and vice versa. Your financial, well-being affects your physical and mental well-being. And it's really about creating a plan that brings everything together, because everything, all the choices are intertwined, and, you want a more balanced lifestyle overall. But the financial component is really important because that's linked to almost every decision you make. And so it's how do I optimize my financial well-being while also optimizing, my health, because that's truly your quality of life.
So is part of your coaching of individuals is to try to get these issues in order so that they mitigate some of that stress and can focus on it? I mean, I imagine, Pam, you do it with trying to create a plan that's workable, that they feel is doable. Would that be accurate?
Yes, try to get them to disclose what's important, create a plan, break it down into doable action plans, correct? But then when you meet with them each time after the initial meeting, you can see they feel more calm. They feel more comfortable. So that progress is very helpful, because then they can see, oh, this is working. And then, like I said, they just relax. They're able to focus on other things in their life because they know that part of their world is taken care of.
And Bri, is part of your approach to try to figure out where the stress is coming from, where the barriers are, so it kind of links to some of these other things?
Yes, that's a large part of it. I'm essentially the central point of most people's care teams. So you bring in the recommendations of different people you're working with, whether it's someone like my mom, maybe it is, you're in physical therapy, or you're going to, acupuncture, or, whatever it is, depending on your goals. I bring all that together and help it make sense for them and help create a more clear plan so they do have that path forward and they can take responsibility for their choices versus kind of feeling like all of this is happening to them. So stress is a big underlying factor that's involved in many aspects of decision making, and helping them really understand their stressors and what they can control creates a good path forward.
So as you pointed out, Pam, people wouldn't consult with us if they didn't have a need, if something wasn't going sideways. And I would imagine the same with you, Bri. There's something they're not able to do on their own. Oftentimes we talk about some of the behaviors that get in the way. So Pam, tell us some of the behaviors that get in the way of financial health and kind of maybe some of the things you talk about in terms of turning that around.
I would say the number one thing is life event changes. Somebody is getting married, they're getting divorced, they're retiring. There are different things happening in their life that now, in the past, they were able to manage that, and now it's just too much. Okay. And in the world that we live in, if we all, are honest and we recognize there is so much information out there from so many different sources, it's hard to, as an individual, depend on one source that is going to be accurate and work well for you. So, yeah, all of the different life events, I think, is what can get in the way, but also partnering with a professional can help to create more calm so that they can make the right decisions to lead them to financial independence, as I spoke of.
Mm-hmm. And Bri, what are some of the behaviors you see that get in the way of someone being able to focus on their mental and physical wellness?
I think that the first step for virtually everyone is just building the awareness, right? We can't change what we're not aware of. Okay. And so people need to understand, where they're currently starting, what their goals are, the challenges, what feels better versus worse, and start to really, again, have that knowledge of themselves and where they're headed. I think most people are just so caught up in their busy lives. They often don't take the time to really slow down and check in with themselves and consider their goals. And also, as my mom spoke of, just the information overload. There's now more information than ever available virtually 24/7. And people will hear from a friend or a coworker that they tried something, and they might just kind of blindly jump in. And it's oftentimes not the best approach for them specifically. I mean, again, I'm sure you have people that come in and they hear recommendations from people that they trust. And it might be a good recommendation for that person, but there is no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
So it's really having the conversations to bring out the knowledge and be able to start that process with each person.
Well, and if I could add one more thing, I think sometimes people feel almost embarrassed to ask for help. Right. And that is a big obstacle that, especially females, I've noticed. And even if I'm meeting with a husband-wife team, it's generally the husband that's asking the questions, the husband that wants to be the decision maker. But in reality, most of the wives make the decisions, right? So you have to try to meet them where they are and truly understand, what they're looking for, but not to feel embarrassed to ask these questions. Make them feel comfortable. These are very common questions. And if met correctly, these questions can be answered and lead you to this financial freedom that is very empowering.
Mm-hmm. So if you have someone coming in who maybe feels like they haven't done a good job, maybe they're a professional whose head's been down working, and so they haven't paid attention to this, and so they're a little bit concerned about this, but know they need it, and maybe need to right their ship in some ways, what tools would you give them to try to, move forward, and how do you get them to feel comfortable?
Yeah, well, I try to help them understand that it's normal. These questions are very common. And by the way, we get a lot of professionals, like to your point, they don't budget time to think about their finances because they're busy. A lot of business owners, they just don't have the time. And so I kind of provide a list of things that they should be mindful of. And I call it what keeps you up at night topics. And then I just ask them to prioritize. What things do you think are the most important to you right now? And what things do you think that we could maybe wait on? And I think by prioritizing, it helps them feel more relaxed. Mm-hmm. Some of the topics would be just like, think about even a young investor just getting started, right? Did they go to college? Do they want to go to college? Are they saving for it? Do they understand how to get there? Or it could be somebody's kid or grandchild who want to go to college, and what are the tools that you can provide? So we have many resources to provide them to make the right decisions for that. And it can go all the way to retirement planning and estate planning. And again, it's usually the person who's very, very busy, who doesn't dedicate the time to make these decisions, and they want to partner with somebody who can help them. And that's our role.
Mm-hmm. And Bri, I would imagine you have probably every client comes in and has tried a million things. Mm-hmm. They might really start strong, and then the staying with it is what's really challenging. What kinds of advice and tools do you use to help people really make a truly long-lasting life change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you mentioned, the consistency is key. Everyone can start
It's
a
so
major
hard.
change for a short period of time, but it's not getting overwhelmed with trying to do 17 things, from day one, right? Mm-hmm. So really building small, finding what's important. And as people start to feel better, that positive momentum snowballs into other areas of their lives and they're able to take on more. But it's also not about being perfect every single day. It's learning how to course correct. So I say it's not trial and error, but it's trial and correction, because we do learn from our missteps, and that can be very valuable, experience that we can use to make better decisions down the road. And so it's just committing to, putting your health first for the rest of your life, being curious, and being an active participant in that process. But it really depends on the person and what type of guidance they need. Some people need more of a cheerleader. Other people need a little bit more tough love. But I think similar to you, right? It's knowing the individual client and what's going to be best for them.
Yeah, and I would also add that statistically, people spend more time planning their retirement, their vacations than their retirement, and that can be very damaging, especially if they wait until the last couple of years before retirement to start making those plans. So to your point, getting them to recognize what the needs are, and it's not always easy because she's helped me, Bri helped me with some of my wellness challenges, and I will think that I know exactly what I need help with, and she'll just listen to me, and then she'll say, well, I hear that you're talking about sleep and this and the other thing, but what about, just getting some movement in your day, in the middle of the day, a 10-minute walk, just to reinvigorate your brain. So it is all of that. I like the trial and correction phrase that I think is what we do too in the financial advisory world. You don't want to just make errors. You want to try these different things and see what's going to work. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, then we're going to correct.
Mm-hmm. Well, trial and correction is such a wonderful term because it gives you hope, right? You can go forward. Nothing is. So, Bri, what do you think is the biggest mistake that people make when they try to launch into this wellness journey?
It probably would be doing what everyone else is doing without considering your unique needs. I can't tell you how many times people come, my neighbor did this, or my friend's taking this pill on Amazon, and
she's
that's
50 pounds lighter.
Right, and it doesn't always work. And oftentimes people, they think that they can just piggyback off of what other people are doing, and it can lead to problems down the road because it's not what our unique body needs. And so recognizing that, we are individuals, and yes, we all need water, but how much, right? Mm-hmm. We all need movement. What does that look like? And how can it be intertwined with our lifestyle? So I'm not adding more onto your plate, but really encouraging you to take this perspective of, how do I make choices throughout the day? It's not saying every single day I have to get a workout. It's what kind of workout, when do I need to rest versus when do I want to push it a little bit harder? And so learning more about yourself also gets you more excited for this process. But I think the challenge is we think that it's, just normal to feel like garbage, or as we age, XYZ happens. And yes, our bodies change as we age, but that doesn't mean that we're destined for disease and illness and discomfort, right? We can actually optimize our quality of life and improve our health as we age if we're doing what's right for our bodies.
That sounds wonderful. And so, Pam, for you, what is the biggest financial mistake people do and need to watch out for that you would think?
I think the biggest mistake, Kelly, is they wait too long to take action. I think if you create a habit, even parents with young kids, create a chore chart. We have that. Something to hold them accountable and give them an allowance and teach them about budgeting, because those practices will stick with you into your adult life. If you don't do that, it's just like anything in your life. It's so hard. Think about New Year's resolutions. How easy do we break those New Year's resolutions? Right. Because we've never done that. Right. It's not a habit. So if you can create these habits young, early, the better. But it's also never too late. It just takes a little bit more dedication. And especially as you get closer to, I would say, retirement age. How much of your budget did you allocate toward your retirement savings versus discretionary spending on vacations and going out and, those types of things? It's a choice. But through a plan, we can show our clients what will your life look like if you save this much versus that much. And if you start now, in 10 years, in 20 years, and the choice is theirs. We just want to empower them with the tools to make the right choice that works for them.
I think for both of us too, it's, we are that accountability in helping people check in, because how many times do you set the New Year's resolutions, but you don't check back in? Right. So a lot of people don't have the process for honest reflection and then resetting the goals. we are our own worst critics. The things that I say to myself, I would never say to,
To a client.
anyone else, right? But we are so hard on ourselves, but we
Right.
might not necessarily have the process, again, to reflect and course correct based on that. And I think that that's what we both do working with clients, is offering that mirror to them so that they can then adjust.
So a lot of individuals think that to have a financial advisor or to have a wellness coach that you need a lot of money. But that's not exactly the case. It's probably not how they should be thinking about it. Pam, what do you say to somebody who says, I don't have enough money to do this, or I think that's going to be too expensive for me?
Yeah, I would say the cost for not taking actionable steps to take care of your financial matters is much more expensive than the cost in investing the time and just talking with a professional about ways that they can help you unfold important decisions that you need to make. I think we talked about the cost of high blood pressure medication is very expensive, and just hypertension, the long-term effects on your heart and your brain health by just feeling anxiety toward all of these financial decisions, that can be very damaging. And quite frankly, it's not going to lead to a fun life or retirement.
And maybe not a long one, right? These are real stresses. Stress is a big deal, and financial stress.
Yes.
I know when I was even practicing law, that was one of the big reasons why people were divorcing, right? The stress of that. So you can help people understand where they're going and what they might need to change to improve things.
Yes.
Makes sense. And Bri, what about a personal coach? Tell me about that.
Yeah, similarly, what's the cost of not prioritizing your health, right? This is quite literally your experience while you're here in this life, and you want to optimize that and get as much out of it as possible. And it truly is possible to enjoy your life and also prioritize your health. It's not just eating, kale salads every day and never staying up past 9 p.m., but it's finding the balance that you enjoy. And preventative health will always be less expensive than care down the road, whether it's expensive medications, surgeries, missing work, or also the emotional stress of not being present with your family and your loved ones. And so, it's important to invest in yourself now. It'll pay dividends in the future. And there's also a lot that you can do that is fairly inexpensive or has no cost, right? So sleep is often overlooked. It's free. We could all probably get a little bit more or better quality sleep. You can do the workouts at home. Like I mentioned earlier, skip the crazy Amazon supplements. You probably don't need them. There's a lot you can do just through food choice. And so I often end up saving clients money down the road because they're not wasting it on other things that are unnecessary, but they're really focusing on, the core things that will make more of an impact.
And I would add one other thing about financial decision making. You might think you know the answer to what type of investments you should be investing in, but if you have a profession and you are dedicated to your job or your career, it's virtually impossible to know what's happening in the market, the economy, at the same time, at the right time with your money. It could be very financially devastating to make poor investment choices that you cannot unwind. So.
And what I find interesting is that, and Bri, you stress this a lot, and I know it applies in our world as well, it's not a one-size-fits-all. No. That importance to be able to customize the plan, the program for you really is key to success, and then success is happiness.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Financial planning is so empowering and so relaxing when you get through it. I just see the look on my clients' faces when we get to that point. You can just tell they feel very gratified and comfortable.
Because they trust in you and your plan. You're the professional, and we all have our own strengths, right? So let's let the professionals guide us and be able to focus on the things that matter to us in other areas, right? Do you want to spend hours trying to Google what you need to do, or do you want to spend 30 minutes on a Zoom with me and then go spend time with your kids?
Yeah, that's great advice. Any final tips you'd like to share?
I will add one thing, especially for people as they age. And I know, Kelly, you being an attorney, you understand about the pitfalls of not planning properly for your estate and those types of decisions. But there's a lot of baby boomers that are entering that retirement pool right now. And there are so many decisions to make as it relates to that, not just financially, but your mental well-being, brain health. I guess June is Dementia and Mental Health Awareness Month. for good reason. We're trying to educate people on, keeping your brain sharp and fresh so you can make these really important decisions that will make your life easier and better. But I would say just, identify and recognize that there are different stages in everyone's life. And as you approach those different stages, they should be met with different decisions. So check in with a professional if you can, partner with people who can help with those decisions, and include family members or friends or anybody who you rely on to maybe join in those meetings, because maybe those people will be inheriting your money someday. So they should have a vested interest. And I also always recommend that any of your beneficiaries of any of your retirement plans or accounts, that they kind of understand what you would like them to do with this. So we invite clients to bring in their kids, their grandkids, to learn about the process. Like I said, it's never too early to start making good choices.
Right. It's an excellent point. I've even had families create mission statements so the family knows what was really important to, what they hope will happen, and move forward. And what about you, Bri? Any last tips for us?
Yeah, I would say it truly is about celebrating yourself as the individual you are and finding the balance that works for you. So acknowledging what's going well, giving yourself some credit, as well as being honest about what could improve and taking steps to do that. So I always meet with people, do a complimentary consult just so that we can talk about, what are your goals, what are your interests, what's going well, where are you headed? I just love to have these conversations with people. So I'd say if you are interested, take the step to be more of an active participant in your health. And like we were both saying, it's never too late. There's always things you can do.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. I think this is such a critical topic, and we've learned a lot from what you shared with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you to our subscribers for joining us. I challenge all of us to find one thing that can help us improve both our financial and our overall well-being. If you have questions you'd like us to explore, please go to the show notes, type your question, and hit submit. If you enjoyed our discussion today, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of Your Money, Your Mission, the podcast designed to turn complex financial situations into actionable advice, powered by Johnson Financial Group.
Pam Stubler offers securities and advisory services through LPL Financial, LPL, a registered investment advisor and broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance products are offered through LPL or its licensed affiliates. Johnson Financial Group and Johnson Financial Group advisors are not registered as a broker-dealer or investment advisor. Registered representatives of LPL offer products and services using Johnson Financial Group financial advisors and may also be employees of Johnson Financial Group. These products and services are being offered through LPL or its affiliates, which are separate entities from and not affiliates of Johnson Financial Group and Johnson Financial Group advisors. Securities and insurance offered through LPL or its affiliates are not insured by FDIC or any other government agency, not bank guaranteed, not bank deposits, or obligations may lose value. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.